Welcome back to Mimi's Home and Garden. This is part 6 of preserving your food, making beef broth from scratch. I had a bag of beef bones that I bought from a local farmer in my freezer, and I needed to do something with it, so I thought this would be a good time to go ahead and make some beef broth to put back in the freezer. I have onions, garlic, celery, and carrots to go in this. And I lined 2 pans with aluminum foil, placed my beef bones on the foil, and each pan will get 1 onion that I've chopped into chunks and just spread it out on the trays. And they'll also get some garlic. Onions and garlic are very healthy foods. They really boost your immune system and they taste great in broth. So I'm going to spread these veggies out on the trays. I did have the carrots and onions in the refrigerator. I chopped them up into big chunks, and I even chopped up the celery leaves to go in this stew. You will be draining all these vegetables off, so you don't have to worry about the size. So just spread it out on 2 trays. I'm going to put these in a 350-degree oven to roast for about 45 minutes. This will make an excellent soup base, and I've done this many times. I usually like to make my own beef broth. It makes my vegetable beef soup, which I have a video of on my channel. It makes that taste so good when I make my own broth. I do the same thing with chicken, a rotisserie chicken. I don't necessarily roast it first. I put it straight into the crock pot, and I'll do a video sometime on how to make chicken broth from a rotisserie chicken. That chicken broth is also delicious just to drink by the cup. Here I am almost finished loading up the pans with the vegetables, and they're almost ready to go into the 350-degree oven. You don't need the salt right now. You can add the salt later in the crock pots. So here we have the 2 pans. Beautiful color. It's going to make a great broth. Nice big chunk sizes of vegetables so they don't cook to pieces. Here they are going into the oven. And now they're done. 45 minutes later, and it smells wonderful in my kitchen. Everything's been nicely roasted, and it's ready to go into the crock pots. I'm going to need some apple cider vinegar and some salt. There are my 2 crock pots on the counter. And I apologize for this next part. I had no idea my camera was sitting so low. But you take a spatula and you scoop the vegetables up off the aluminum foil. And this makes cleanup so easy. And just lift the vegetables up and then dump into the crock pot. No cleanup mess there. That pan is still clean. Now I'm going to add 1 gallon of water per crock pot. So I've poured the water in the first crock pot. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar to this. The apple cider vinegar helps draw out the minerals and nutrients that are in the soup bones. And 1 tablespoon of salt. You could add other spices that you may like. This is what I prefer in my soup base, and you're going to strain it, so you really need to be careful which kind of spices you add. I set my timer for 12 hours. This is going to be on low, a nice slow simmer for 12 hours. And put the lid on. I put this on right before I went to bed. Then I left my warming button on so that when I came home from work the next day, it would still be warm, but it would not have been cooking. So there it is. This is the 2nd day. Everything is pretty much cooked really well. It smells delicious. Both crock pots have been on the warm cycle for about 4 hours. So we're going to take out all of the veggies and get to our broth. Okay, here we have me scooping out the beef and all the vegetables that have just about cooked to pieces. So I just take a slotted spoon and I scoop out the majority of the vegetables from the crock pot, because really all we want is that broth. And I have over a large stainless steel pot with a strainer and a coffee filter, and I'm going to be pouring the broth through that coffee filter to strain off any particles. Now I had planned on pressure canning some of this, but it had a lot of beef fat in it, and I really don't like to pressure can when it has a lot of fat content, but the fat's still good for you. So I'm just going to freeze this beef broth, and I'm trying to strain off as much of the loose bits of vegetable that are left, so I have a nice clean broth. So I did that with both crock pots, strained off the broth, and I have a nice big pot full, 2 gallons of beef broth that I'm going to let sit on the counter and cool. Now here's where I've set up to put the beef broth in Ziploc bags, freezer bags. You can see that layer of fat on the top of the pot, and I'm going to skim off as much of that as I can. The broth has cooled. So using a spoon, I just skimmed off the big pieces of fat. And now using my canning funnel, I'm going to place it under the freezer bag and then just pour the liquid into each quart bag. I put 4 cups of beef broth in a quart bag. And the jar was very nice and clean when I first started using it. And you can see the accumulation of beef fat on that measuring cup when I get through pouring this broth in. The cooler it gets, the more the fat separates. Then I try to squeeze out as much air as possible and seal it up. I did label the bags before with the date, so I'll know when they're in the freezer exactly when I put these up. I repeat this process, and I think I got 7 quart bags out of this batch, which is going to make a lot of delicious meals. And there have been times when I've been sick with the cold or a flu and I just wanted broth, so I would take out a bag out of the freezer and heat it up and just drink it by the cupful. And that's all there is to putting up your own beef broth. It's a pretty easy process. And I ended up with 7 nice quart bags full. They're labeled. I put beef on them. The darker ones, I pretty much know they're beef. And then I'll put these in the freezer. I hope you enjoyed this video and will try to make your own beef broth. If you like it, please give me a like and subscribe to Mimi's Home and Garden. Thank you and have a blessed day.